Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm gonna introduce to you a very special poem of Li Bai. Actually, very few people have even heard of this poem. It's a very religious and philosophical one, but I personally find it interesting. So let's jump right into it. From the east, the sun comes around. It seems to rise from underground. Crossing the sky, it sinks in the sea of the west. Where could the 6 dragons driving it take their rest? It never changes from the beginning to the end. Man is not a spirit, could he accompany it as a dear friend? Grass will not for its growth thank the spring breeze. Leaves won't complain of autumn when fallen from trees. Who could drive summer and winter, autumn and spring? Nature rules over rise and fall of everything. Oh, driver of the sun, what on the boundless waves have you done? Oh, Herculean son, how could you wield your spear to stop the driver's run? You can go against the law divine, what you do is quite out of line. I would embrace the universe to be one with nature, for better or for worse. Now the original Chinese text. 日出入行，日出东方微，似从地底来。立天又复入西海，六龙所舍安在哉？其实与钟鼓不息，人非元气，安得与之久徘徊？草不谢荣于春风，木不愿落于秋天。谁挥鞭策驱四运，万物兴歇皆自然。西河西河，汝兮古没于荒淫之波。鲁阳何得筑景辉歌？逆道为天，矫巫实多。吾将囊括大块，浩然与明信同科。I picked this poem because it is so special. Now, to really understand what this poem is talking about requires a lot of knowledge in Chinese culture and especially methodologies in ancient times. I personally also learned a lot while making this video. So the poem's title is Song of Sunrise and Sunset. Now, why is it titled a song instead of a regular title for a poem? This is because the format of this poem is written in the style of 乐府 poetry, or an ancient style of Chinese poems that were popular during the Han Dynasty, which is 700 years ago, before the Tang Dynasty when Li Bai was alive. So 乐府 poetry were simply lyrics written with melodies, but as years pass by, only the lyrics and the format is preserved. So here Li Bai is utilizing this ancient form for writing poems to better rhyme and capture a tempo, this tempo for speech in Chinese poetry. So if you can speak Chinese, you probably know that Chinese comes with these intonations, and naturally reading poems in Chinese has a melody and rhythm to itself. On top of this, this poem is about ancient methodologies in the first place, so using an ancient form for writing adds on this mysterious color. The first several sentences depict this never-ending cycle of nature, with mentioning the sun's rising and setting. The line of, crossing the sky, it sinks in the sea of the west. Where could the 6 dragons driving it take their rest? Is related with the ancient Chinese people's beliefs that the land ends at the sea and there are 6 dragons carrying a traditional carriage that is driven by the god of sun, Fuxi. Fuxi has never stopped to take a break, just like nature never stops its life and death cycle. However, human beings have only one life that is temporary, and the poet here exclaims that although he wants to accompany the grandness change of nature, he cannot achieve it due to the shortness of people's lives. Man is not a spirit, could he accompany it as a dear friend? We see here that Li Bai is very bold in saying that he has the desire to accompany the cycle of nature as a dear friend. This is quite an unusual statement in Chinese literature because oftentimes people would see themselves as inferior, as passive receivers of the gifts from nature, or as weaker creatures that are governed by the law of nature. Li Bai here clearly takes on a much more equal perspective that although he cannot live as long, the ambition he has is to be an observer of nature and be part of this greater universe. He then says, grass will not for its growth thank the spring breeze, leaves won't complain of autumn when fallen from trees. Who could drive summer, winter, autumn, and spring? Nature rules over rise and fall of everything. I believe this is another multi-quality sentence. You see, change is never pleasant or comfortable, but it is also the truth of nature. In recent years, especially after the COVID started, I'm sure that everyone has been through quite a lot of changes, either passively or maybe you have actively took on some new challenges in life. Me included, I didn't feel at all comfortable with having to make a change. But as time goes by and as I read more books on self-inspiration and spiritual mentoring, I realize that change is the one unchangeable truth, eternal truth of the universe, and accepting it and making adaptations mentally and physically accordingly is the best effort that we can make. You can also call these reactions effortless because it is so constant and you get used to change in the long run. So Li Bai in this poem points this out with such beautiful lines using metaphors of the grass and leaves and the four seasons. The next four sentences take some explanation. O driver of the sun, what on the boundless waves have you done? O Herculean son, how could you wield your spear to stop the driver's run? The driver of the sun is called Xihe in Chinese, and the Herculean son is called Luyang. Xihe in legendary is the driver of the sun, and Luyang is also said to be a figure in legend to have stopped the sun from showing up for 3 days. Here, Li Bai is questioning the authenticity of these myths and mocking on these legendary figures. The purpose of this mock is to bring out the next two sentences. You go against the law divine, what you do is quite out of line. I would embrace the universe to be one with nature for better or for worse. Everything in nature follows its own discipline and cannot be stopped from its own destined track. If one is to go against it, it would be like going against the law divine, and believing in this kind of self-boasting is self-conceiting because it is unrealistic. Embracing the nature is the right thing to do, and once a human being accomplishes this, he will be in the status of to be one with nature for better or for worse. You could tell by now that this poem is of a very romantic style, and the poet Li Bai stressed his own existence while depicting the grandness of nature, which is very bold and rare, as I said in Chinese poetry. The cycle of life and death is not deemed as something sad or temporal, but as complying to the divine law of nature and thus sacred and holy. It is a poem of very strong religious color. The reason why I am introducing this poem to you is to let you get more familiar with Li Bai's transcending lifestyle and his style in poetry, which is very unique because the usual Chinese poets who are also politicians or civil servants that tend to write poets on human society and not purely religious topics. So I hope you have enjoyed this very special poem. This might be a little bit controversial if you have your own religious beliefs, but hopefully that there are some getaways that are helpful to you, and I'll see you next time.